Section 730, Deleted Portion, First Part. Rob noted, this material is from the 730th section. It concerns Jane's out-of-body experience of last night. Coral stamp is involved, etc. Now, give us a moment. Ruber wants this information, but we will begin slowly. Our Rob noted ESP. Seth said classes occur in your physical reality, yet the greater encounters take place in the psyche, and this encounter is independent of space and time. While probabilities do operate, your consciousness usually deals with one at a time. In your turns, after class broke up last evening, another class began. As those events were experienced in the private and mass psyche of those involved. This second class did not actually happen, however, after the first one, but simultaneously. It represented the larger dimensions of the event of the class, and those events that compose it did take place at a different level of actuality. Coral left the physical class, Rob noted early. Seth said, but still participated at that other level of reality in the entire preceding part. Rob noted Arnold. Seth said, who has not attended lately. Cycling is present. In that dimension, therefore, Ruber was aware of both presences. He was perceiving the greater dimensions of the physical class event. In those terms, Pot, who did not attend the physical class, attended a proper one, and Coral, who was not present for the end of the official class, was a participant in the proper one. To Ruber's experience, the classes seemed separate, one real and the other probable, but these simply represented the greater, usually unperceived, dimensions of any class event. Rob noted, or of any perceived event. Seth said, to Ruber it seemed that the lights switched off and on. This represented the switching off and on of his consciousness as it perceived usually restricted perceptions, then lost them. Now, the student Larry Kopp does have extraordinary energy, erratically and explosively used. He does not know how to use it as yet, so it appears not as a steady, but as a rambunctious and sometimes distracting quality. He has not learned how to write it, for example. Ruber recognizes this. Ruber was then using Larry's, knowing that to some degree it appears both levels, and he helped to compare what Larry said in each reality. Many of the students are embarrassed by Larry's behavior and his piercing laugh, but Ruber recognizes the energy involved. Several things were operating. Ruber was out of body, as he knows, and in that state he was perceiving the greater dimensions of the class event and trying to correlate this with ordinary class perception. You were also out of body, but do not recall the situation. Coral was downhearted and wanted to give herself a present. Unconsciously, she chose the precise old class session, dealing with probabilities and containing her description, last June, of an out-of-body episode in which she did indeed visit a proper class. That was on her mind as she fell asleep. She visited here, then out of body, and was perceived by Ruber, who was in an out-of-body state himself. Carol did not come into the room, however, but lingered with her sister. Rob noted, Pot. She sat in the hall. As Ruber looked out the window, he was using all of his abilities, but he could not physically keep both events going at one time. Or rather, his awareness could not contain all of the perceptive information. Part of the landscape was blacked out. There the full light of consciousness did not shine. He altered himself through the use of the hallucinatory radio. That made him question why the lights were off. Here he reverted, however, to ordinary conscious behavior, thinking there must be a storm, and that a weather report would tell him its course. Then he realized that his body was sleeping. He wanted to awaken and record the experience, so he had the radio blare until it waked him. There is more, involving the doctor and the monkey. The monkey was not free, but on a leash. The psychic's interpretation, in other terms, of material involving the class discussion about inoculations. The monkey was not free because it had been inoculated with diseased tissue, yet the doctor helped to keep the disease in control or leashed. Through measured inoculations, Ruber saw a real doctor and a real monkey because he wanted to bring home the point that living animals were then involved, who were then diseased, and that real men conducted the experiments. In other terms, to your way of thinking, diseases represent animal afflictions, and the monkey represented that connection. No doctor stood in the parking lot with a monkey on a leash. Yet, in other terms, the event was literal, for your doctors feel that they must control the animal in you to heal, and that without their leash the animals would run wild. The monkey was used also because it is humanistic, or has what you think of as incipient human characteristics. The vocabulary used in the regular class was interpreted in the psyche in that manner, and it was literally and symbolically true language. I will cut this short, knowing your time problems. I recognize your problems, but that sequence alone, done properly, would require sessions.